Warning, warning, warning. The alien abductions are not done by aliens. They are conducted by corrupt and rogue military personnel, intelligence officials, and shadow government actors. They are known as MILAB. The implants that Dr. Leir discovered were not done by aliens. They were done by humans with technology. The implants were found to emit radio frequencies, almost like they were trying to communicate with something.
This is the most significant pieces of actual UFO and extraterrestrial data we have ever seen.
Who are we? Are we alone? And where are we actually sitting within the architecture of our universe? I was recently introduced to a surgeon who claims to remove implants, nanotechnology microchips embedded by aliens.
Dr. Roger Leir did confirm I was going to be patient number 17.
He says a little spot here that shows through.
Yeah, it's right there.
Send half the object in for analysis and tell us whether the material is from off planet.
We're talking about something that is highly advanced and fabricated by an intelligence, is that correct?
Yes.
I don't have any answers. I'm still doubting Thomas on what this could possibly be. I just want all this to end. I just want it removed. This is scarier than hell.
Wow. We have a total of 36 elements here.
This is the most astounding array of elements in a single sample I've ever seen.
It's the biggest story of the 20th and 21st centuries. It's the biggest story never told.
I've been trying for months to get a hold of Steve. He's changed his phone number, won't answer any of my messages. What are your thoughts?
I'm telling you, it's not from here. This sample did not come from our solar system, much less the Earth.
For the first time in history, one man is coming forward with tangible evidence that he claims is proof of an alien intelligence visiting Earth. Dr. Roger Leir is a surgeon from Southern California who has been performing operations on patients for over 30 years.
So far, 8 surgeries have been performed, and with the 8 surgeries, we have removed 9 objects. The commonality, of course, is that all the individuals are subjects of the alien abduction phenomena.
In 1996, he performed one of the first surgeries to remove an alien implant from the jaw of an alleged abductee. What you are about to see is the actual video of the first implant being removed. We must warn you, this footage is not for the faint of heart. First, the surgeon administers local anesthesia by injection to deaden the area around the implant. Once the surgeon makes his initial incision into the tissue, surgical clamps are applied to keep the wound open. Then, the surgeon deepens the incision, and an X-ray instrument called a fluoroscan is brought in to locate the implant under the skin. Once the implant is located, a probe is inserted, and the implant is finally removed. Dr. Leir described some of the extraordinary findings discovered during this amazing surgery.
There is no portal of entry. There's no evidence how the object got inside the body. Then when we look at the soft tissues that surround the object, we find there is no inflammatory response. This is impossible, because anything that enters the body should have an inflammatory response. And then thirdly, they are surrounded by a large number of nerve proprioceptors which are not anatomically correct.
Once the outer biological membrane was removed, it revealed a triangular-shaped object. This object was housed in yet another gray membrane. Remarkably, this inner membrane could not be cut, even with a surgical scalpel. The implant was then sent to Los Alamos National Laboratory for metallurgic testing.
We knew that when we got the initial report back from Los Alamos that we didn't have something that was common, because Los Alamos is a world-class laboratory and would not recommend further testing on anything that they didn't feel was strange. So it was the combination of elements that were in these objects that I think inspired them to advise us that more tests should be done.
The implants were then sent to New Mexico Tech Laboratory, where a battery of metallurgic tests were performed on the objects.
The theory that they put forth was that these were portions of meteorites. They did not know they were removed from the human body.
Amazingly, the New Mexico Tech Lab report revealed that the elements in the implants were composed of meteorites so rare, only a few had ever been found. At this point, scanning electron microscope analysis was conducted on the implants. The results revealed the implants were manufactured and not naturally occurring meteorites. Amazingly, results showed the implants had been connected to the patient's nerve endings.
The second set of tests following some of the tests that were run at New Mexico was run by University of California at San Diego.
The laboratory results from the University of California at San Diego confirmed the earlier tests. Astonishingly, a portion of the metal analyzed in the implants was extraterrestrial and did not come from Earth.
Some of the elements that were found in combination were of non-terrestrial or extraterrestrial origin.
The evidence is overwhelming. The implications are staggering. In each case, the chain of evidence has been documented, and the test results are shocking.
It began in May of 1978. I was coming home from Denver with my wife, and we were coming up Highway 59, and a UFO came down in front of us on the road. It was about 100 foot long, 20 foot wide, 10 foot high.
Tim spotted the object on Highway 59, 12 miles outside of Yuma.
The craft moved out here into this pasture, and I think it landed approximately out here in this area right here. And all of a sudden, just two lights come on, one right above the other, real bright. It seemed like we sat there 4 or 5 minutes. And turned back to my wife and said, well, we might as well go to town. Then 4 years later, I found this piece of metal in my arm.
There is no wound that would mark a point of entry, and Cullen had MRI scans prior to the UFO sighting, which proved that there was no metal in his arm at that time.
So here it is. Here's the object. Looks like a couple of inches up from your wrist.
The team consults with Dr. Roger Leir, a California-based surgeon. Dr. Leir has facilitated the removal of over a dozen objects from individuals who claim they had alien implants. Further, the object triggered no rejection or inflammatory reaction in Tim's body. In fact, upon removal, it was discovered that Tim's body had surrounded the implant with a large bundle of nerves, a highly anomalous reaction in response to the presence of foreign material. December 11, 2007, a 49-year-old Pennsylvania man, Jeff Harvey, contacts the team.
You know what? Let's get back to the office.
When Jeff was 8 years old in 1967, both he and his father had witnessed a UFO sighting while living in Honesdale, Pennsylvania, near Scranton.
My dad and I were standing on the banks of the Lackawaxen River fishing, and at treetop level, it came across. It was smoking from the back. It had a circular shape. It had a bit of a bowl to the bottom.
When the team has the alleged implant surgically removed and analyzed, to their surprise,
we actually detected radio frequency.
When I noticed it, I thought, God, I'd really like to find out what the heck this is. So I talked to the doctors down at the VA. They said, oh, fatty cyst, don't worry about it, no big deal. And then for some reason, one day I thought, you know what? I wonder if it's metal. So I stuck a magnet on it, and it pulled right up out of the skin, and I said, all right, hold on. There's no fatty cyst that's magnetic.
Jeff, come on in.
Only after the object has been surgically removed can the team determine scientifically what this object is and its origin.
That's the main bone, and then here is your object.
The unknown object feels like a small pellet, slightly bigger than a BB, buried 3 to 4 millimeters under the skin of Jeff's upper right thigh.
Size-wise, this is something very similar to what we have seen before.
Before we go into surgery to remove the implant, we need to determine what this object really is. We need to do a few series of tests of magnetism and radio frequency.
This is a 250-pound magnet, and with that we have quite a bit of magnetic force here. If this object will react to a magnetic field, it should pull it closer to the skin. Is this the spot here, Jeff?
Right there.
Right here, okay. Yeah, it does stand out a little bit. See the skin?
Yeah, I can. See, it's pulling out in just a small circular area, is that right?
Right.
How far out would you say that it's pulling out?
A good 1/8 of an inch.
Good 1/8 of an inch.
Now we're going to be testing for radioactivity, electromagnetic fields, and radio frequencies next.
Before we permanently remove this implant, we need to see if there's anything detectable going on. We do know that it's magnetic. Maybe it's giving off a radioactivity, maybe it's giving off a radio signal. We need to determine if it's just a piece of metal or it has some greater purpose.
This instrument is called a Gauss meter, and it's for the detection of electromagnetic fields. Let's see what happens. Okay. That noise is a very strong electromagnetic field. Let's get a reading of 10 milligauss, which is extremely strong.
It's highly unusual for a tiny speck of metal to give off such a strong signal, unless it's connected to a power source.
I wasn't that curious up until just now when you got a reading on output.
Now the next instrument we use is a radio frequency detector. We have 2 ranges here that we can change from. One is the gigahertz range and the other is the megahertz range.
Dr. Leir is sweeping a wide range of possible radio frequencies, from the bottom of the megahertz range and continuing upward to the top of the gigahertz range. Megahertz is the wavelength used by television and FM radio stations. Gigahertz is much higher, used for microwave ovens and cell phones, among other applications.
It is emitting a radio frequency. It looks to be like about 59.125254 gigahertz. This is the megahertz range now, which is 35.893, and this is megahertz.
The megahertz reading fell under a VHF band. The VHF band is used by satellite radio and terrestrial communication, which is used by the government as well as the consumers.
Well, I think we've learned something today, and we'll wait for tomorrow to have it in our hand.
The evidence that we were able to test was pretty interesting, actually. We came out with the reading of 10 milligauss and also a radio frequency of 35 megahertz and 59 gigahertz.
35 megahertz is VHF, and that's radio, FM radio, or television. Good chance there's a lot of background radiation around. It might have picked that up. But the other one, 59 gigahertz, that's extremely high frequency. Those are the radio frequencies that radio astronomers use to detect radio frequencies coming in from outer space.
Dr. John Matriciano, a general surgeon practicing in Thousand Oaks, California, is conducting the operation.
There we see it.
There we go.
Finally. Ah, yeah. I'm going to use the local anesthesia. Now we're going right to the spot we marked before. So we're going here. So I'll make a little nick with the skin. So I can't feel this, so I am going to rely a little bit on the x-ray. So we'll back off a little bit. Okay, I think we begin to see something here. Okay. Yeah. So look at a little bit of a black dot going there.
Yep.
Make sure we're on the same spot. I'm going to grasp this if I can.
Looks like you're on it.
Looks like we're right on it. So.
Are you gripping it hard? Try not to damage it.
No, it's slippery. I've got it here. See it?
Yeah, it's definitely solid.
Dr. Matriciano was surprised to find that Jeff's tissue has attached itself to the object.
It looked like it was encapsulated in organic material that was actually attached to Jeff's body. So there was a little bit of a tugging to get it out there.
That's it.
Yep.
We got it. Hold that for a second. That's it.
The size was surprising of the object. It appeared more flat and roundish, and I was really surprised that something of that size was generating a signal outside of my body.
So it's in the serum.
Okay. I'm just curious to see what happens, like many are, now that it's out, what changes.
Yeah, the next step with this will be to get it to the lab to begin running our tests on it.
The team conducts tests to determine if it still emits an unusual radio frequency as it did before.
Tell me about the radio frequency tests.
The radio frequency actually canceled and stopped.
The implant is no longer emitting a signal.
Hey, Richard. I brought the sample that we discussed. You want to show us the optical microscope?
Sure. The next step is to analyze the object itself. Is it something that can be identified, or is it an anomalous object? The team takes the sample to Richard Mattson of SEAL Labs in El Segundo, California. With 36 years' experience, the company is one of the leading independent analysis laboratories in the country. The object has two distinct areas, a light inner layer and a dark outer shell.
I do look at the outside surface, and it did appear to be blackened or charred, if you want to say. It appears to be something that's dried, gel-like.
That we're calling the fin, because it kind of looks like a fin coming off the side. And I'm very curious to know, what's this made of? So this is a scanning electron microscope. Right here we have an electron source which shoots electrons down vertically at the sample. We can scan the sample in X and Y. We can get X-ray diffraction, which will give us the information about the elements that are in the sample.
It's a nice piece of equipment.
Yeah, it is. There it is. Can we get the X-ray off of this sort of fin-like material?
Sure.
I think we see here that it's not actually a material that's protruding from within the sample. It's actually something attached.
Right.
The spectra of that material, it's organic. So for some reason here, we've got a piece of the human body that's attached itself to the exterior surface of the sample. So this is really interesting because the human body has two kinds of reactions to a foreign object. One was the more extreme case where it would encapsulate it in pus and transport it out. And the second one was where it would just encase it and have a minor inflammatory reaction. It seems here that some material from the human body has actually attached itself to the sample, which to me doesn't seem like either of those cases that Dr. Leir described.
Usually it would reject it, but in this case it's actually embracing it.
Yeah, it's attached itself.
Very interesting.
We're going to perform surgery to remove foreign objects from individual bodies who believe that they have been abducted by aliens.
We'll scrutinize two of the objects at a state-of-the-art materials testing lab.
We believe that we have a definitive physical evidence that the abduction phenomena is real. I'd like to thank Bob Brown and the UFO Congress for giving me the opportunity to do this presentation today. I'm going to present some new material that you have not heard about before, and this is based on the 15th surgery that we've done for removal of alien implants. We'll simply call this case file SC0010908, and if I can work this machine, we'll go on. Now, the patient has been using a pseudonym. His name is John Smith. He's 47 years old, and he is married with 3 children. He resides in Southern California, and his occupation just happens to be a physical scientist. So very strange things involved in this case. He has a positive alien abduction history, and as you know, ANS research has a very strict set of protocols and criteria that we use before any surgery is performed. And John fulfilled all the criteria and protocols and became the 15th case. The area of concern here is the second toe of the left foot. We had x-rays taken, and they showed a metallic foreign body measuring about 4 millimeters in length and about the thickness of a pencil lead. And as you know, in the other cases, we've seen about the same thing. So we have a number of these, at least 8 or 9, which all look the same and have the same essential qualities. What's unusual, another thing that's unusual about this case is when we did the scientific study of what we have here, we find it's sort of an embodiment of all the other 14 cases. If you've been following my research as it's been going, if you go way, way back to the first and second cases, and we had laboratory data coming from Los Alamos National Laboratories and from New Mexico Tech. If you remember, they didn't know what these samples were. This was a blind study, and they came back with a conclusion that these are a meteorite-like samples. And as you know, people don't step on meteorites or whack them with their hand, otherwise they'd have a very big hole, and probably not much material would be embedded in it. Once the x-rays are taken, then we know that there's an object there. We use a CAT scan, and the CAT scan will give us the approximation of where the object lies, and we're able to then do the surgery more specifically. I told you it was about 3 to 5 millimeters. It's radio dense. That means that it appears in an x-ray about the thickness of a pencil lead. Second toe again. Estimated date of insertion was February the 28th of 2008. And how do we know that? Well, the individual remembers waking up in the morning, and he saw a couple of drops of blood on the bed sheets, and he looked down at the toe, and there was a couple of small puncture wounds which healed within a very short time. As with the other cases, again, there was no scar and no portal of entry available. Also, if you recall, before we take anything out, we like to find out as much information as possible as to what's going on. And as we're able to do that and get better and better equipment, we're able to get much more knowledge. And as you recall, one of the cases we did was emanating a radio frequency, which was verified by a friend of mine in Las Vegas, let's put it that way, who sent me a classified FCC sheet, and we found out that that frequency was broadcasting on a deep space radio frequency. Now, if that don't knock your socks off, I don't know what does. We have emissions coming from this last case too. We use a Gauss meter to detect the electromagnetic activity, and we found that we had a magnetic field of greater than 10 milligauss. Ionizing radiation, we were only able to detect the normal background radiation using a Geiger counter. And the radio emissions, again, we're at 14.749650 megahertz. I don't know yet. I haven't had enough time to find out exactly where on the band or where that is going, but we're finding out. We had emissions of RF and ELF and the microwave bands.
He was a scientist first and a ufologist second. He didn't seek to become the leading researcher of suspected implants of extraterrestrial origin, but after 30 years of podiatric surgery, he was exposed to its possibility and simply followed the science. Let's explore. Hi everyone, and welcome to Project Blue Book, your destination for the exploration of all things unidentified and unexplained. I am Thor, and thanks for tuning in. Over a course of 20 years that began in the early 90s, Dr. Roger Leir, a podiatric surgeon, a foot doctor, removed 18 foreign objects from 15 persons from their hands, arms, feet, and legs. It all changed for Dr. Leir when he attended a MUFON conference in 1995, admittedly an interested party in all things related to UFOs. He was asked to examine a patient who claimed to have been abducted and believed she had foreign objects in her leg as a result. As a surgeon present at the conference, Dr. Leir was asked to help with examining the objects first, and possibly removing them if he deemed necessary. This was his very first exposure to the possibility of alien implants, which had not once crossed his mind before in over 30 years of podiatric surgery. He is quoted saying, "I was intellectually challenged to see if this claim could be verified scientifically, and that's why I took on this challenge at first." End quote. After thorough examination, Dr. Leir removed 2 foreign objects from her foot and sent them off to appropriate laboratories to be examined. The results came back. The objects were made of common materials, zinc, aluminum, and also uranium, in metallurgic proportions and assembly most commonly found in meteors. While not conclusive otherwise, this began a 20-year research journey to answer the question if these objects could be alien implants, and if not, what else could they be, or where did they come from? To him, this was always about academic research, and one can attest that he stumbled upon it due to his interest in UFOs, with a clear distinction that he did not seek this out. At the time, this concept was completely unknown and unspoken of in the arena of UFO research and in public discourse. As more cases came Dr. Leir's way, he formed a non-profit research organization, ANS Research Group, and enlisted the help of a dentist, a surgeon, a nurse, and a videographer to aid him in examining and performing surgeries on multiple patients. All of the removed implants were thoroughly and independently examined by multiple labs to confirm consistent results. In Dr. Leir's own words, they have undergone rigorous examinations by both biological and metallurgical scientists and associations with some of the world's most prestigious laboratories, such as Los Alamos National Labs, New Mexico Tech, University of Toronto, York University, Southwest Laboratories, SEAL Laboratories, and numerous other with same validation. The discoveries have been both earth-shattering and prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that these objects are non-terrestrial in origin and have been placed in humans all over the world by advanced species for reasons we still don't understand." End quote. And to explain what he means by earth-shattering proof beyond reasonable doubt that these objects are non-terrestrial, let's look at the most consistent and commonly found facts across all removed implants. No inflammatory or rejection reaction by the host body to these foreign objects. No visible portal of entry. Collections of specialized nerve endings discovered surrounding the objects. An outer coating of ceramic biological material. A metallic phase where inorganic metal becomes biological tissue. The emission of radio waves that are deep space frequencies in the FM band. Electromagnetic fields in excess of 10 milgauss. Composition of meteoric iron. Rare earth metals such as U-236, a single isotope of uranium existing by itself. Non-terrestrial isotopic ratios indicating the involved elements did not come from Earth. Metallic caverns no larger than the diameter of one atom. Resistance to ordinary cutting techniques including diamond and laser. Abundance of sodium chloride orthorhombic crystals, for those who may not know, were the original transistor elements for radios. Additionally, his claim of them being placed by, quote, advanced species, unquote, should be non-controversial, because based on the above commonalities, and that they were not inserted by human professionals, leaves no choice other than non-human, scientifically and intellectually advanced species. There's a documentary out by Jeremy Corbell on Dr. Leir's patient number 17, but case number 15 intrigues me even more. It involves a male patient who was married with several young children and a resident of Southern California. He had a long history of abductions, and they involved both himself, his wife, and his family. One morning, he awoke with a pain in his toe and several dots of blood on his bed. He came to Dr. Leir's office immediately the morning after. He did not disclose at first that he claimed to be an alien abductee, but admitted to seeing Dr. Leir on television. Dr. Leir, after an X-ray and examination that proved positive for a metallic foreign object in his patient's toe, he decided to operate and remove it. It was only on his follow-up visit that patient 15 shared his many abduction experiences with Dr. Leir. All of Dr. Leir's surgeries are performed with an X-ray device called a C-arm. It allows the surgeon to see the object on 2 television screens while operating, displaying both the instrument being used as well as the object being removed. During the operation, something unusual happened to patient 15. When he first touched the object with the instrument, it broke into several small pieces, almost as if by design, because no pressure had been applied. Each piece then had to be removed separately and placed in a gauze before being transferred to a container filled with the patient's own blood serum. Dr. Leir had removed all the pieces except one. When returning to the last piece, it was nowhere to be found. It had disappeared. After a thorough examination and search, finding no trace of the last piece, he decided to close up the wound. But that was not the end of the story. 3 days later, Dr. Leir revisited the container holding the broken segments, and to his shock, discovered they had realigned to form the original object, intact. He resealed the box and shook it up, noting the pieces were separate again, at random, inside. Only about 15 minutes later, the pieces in the container had reassembled themselves yet again, as if controlled by some kind of a memory agent or a magnetic memory technology, prompting automatic reassembly every single time. Dr. Leir wrote several books on the subject, most prominently The Aliens and the Scalpel in 1999, and Casebook, Alien Implants, published in 2000. And in the years that followed, Dr. Leir appeared on talk shows such as Coast to Coast AM. He appeared at hearings and on panels, including at the National Press Club in Washington, D.C. Needless to say, for a man who had devoted his life's work to science, spending over 30 years in foot surgery before his first implant encounter, the first controversy over his findings sent his reputation as a surgeon into a tailspin. Regardless, he devoted the rest of his days to implant research until his death in 2014. The same year, he finished a paper on his latest patients, the smoking gun, which is available in a link below, and is worth a read, as is Jeremy Corbell's documentary, The 17th Patient, link below. Implant research is no doubt in the wheelhouse of military application already, but a civilian researcher devoted to the implant field is a place where Dr. Leir's legacy and courage is yet to be followed. Much more research remains to be done, as well as the cataloging of patients, their implant location and makeup, their biology, as multiple times throughout their lives, as well as the tracking of their lifelines, whereabouts, careers, health, and more. Are there similarities, commonalities that could be discovered? Are there biological markers or changes affecting these patients? Are there triggers? Because it is unlikely these are simply devices for the purpose of tracking. All such work awaits to be done. by someone.